So as Donald Trump's shutdown continues, and I think we're at day 42 now, I keep asking the same question: where's the money? And that's something that we should all be asking: where's the money? As it turns out, the White House might have the money, and you may have to go there to get it. No, for real. Check this out. This is Duffy talking about said thing.
President Trump, brilliant. Listen, the air traffic controllers who didn't miss a day, they came for every scheduled shift that they had. They should get a bonus. Now, I don't know how many they're going to be. We have to do that analysis. But I'm aligned with the president. We are going to pay them a bonus. It'll be $10,000, depending on how many we have. They should come to the White House, and he should present them with their checks. They're patriots. We are grateful to them for the work that they've done.
So if you want your check, go to the White House, ask Trump yourself to get the money. Literally, that's what he just said. And he's like, Trump, brilliant. It's weird. I think he's having a meltdown live. I mean, you're literally watching it here. That's Sean Duffy, Secretary of Transportation, talking about the money. Go to the White House and get it. On top of that, we're fighting over whether or not we're going to fund food for people, right? The SNAP. The White House doesn't want to help with that. This is the breaking news right now. The Supreme Court agreed Tuesday to continue stopping a lower court from ordering the Trump administration to fully fund SNAP immediately. The order will stay in place until Thursday night. And if you've been following the story, basically lower courts were saying, hey, Trump, you got to fund this. You got emergency money there. You got to release the funds, right? And the Trump are like, I don't money. What money? It's like, and that's the question then. Okay, so where's the money? Seriously, like, why are you so adamant about, not wanting to fund food? Isn't this crazy? Then Bondi, one of Trump's people, she goes, our Justice Department attorneys just secured a further administrative stay through Thursday at midnight at the Supreme Court to prevent further judicial upheaval for the SNAP and child nutrition program. So they really don't want to pay the money. And I guess you got to go to the White House, like in Duffy's own word, if you want your check, and go visit Trump. I saw this meme today. I don't show memes all the time, but sometimes it really captures the era that we're in. You have died from canceled food stamps. And I know it's not funny to talk about people starving. Guys, I get it. But I mean, how else are we going to explain this era to our grandkids? They're like, there was that country called USA, and they got this like insane president with this incompetent administration, and they were, all TV hosts from Fox News, and then like they just didn't want to help people with food, and if you wanted to get paid, you had to go to the White House to get money. Like it doesn't even sound real. It's so absurd. This is a play, if you guys know this, and you can write in the comments if you do. This is a play on the game, the Oregon Trail, which I used to play as a kid on the old Apple computer. So it was basically learning through history, like the journey that you would have to, head out west on the Oregon Trail. And probably in the future, we're going to, have some sort of like Donald Trump game of like trying to explain this to kids of like how ridiculous it was or is right now. For example, this is Trump talking about being in the White House and whether or not it's Home Depot stuff. Listen to this.
The one thing with gold,
why not
you can't imitate gold, real gold. There's no paint that imitates gold.
So these aren't like from Home Depot or something?
No, this is not Home Depot stuff.
No, not stuff you buy.
This is not Home Depot.
This is not Home Depot stuff. No, this is a true story. It was before on the, because I remember reading about this and like looking at the pictures. It was before that was people were wondering on the internet, like all the gold and stuff you see around Donald Trump is this basically sprayed styrofoam. According to Trump, it's not Home Depot stuff. I really don't know myself. I'll just let you guys be the judge of that. But they actually are having this conversation, which is pretty funny. And then you got this regarding the $10,000. Where are you going to get that money?
Did is say the ones that stayed, of which there were a lot of them. I'm sending them a $10,000 bonus.
Where's that money coming from?
I don't know. I'll get it from someplace. I always get the money from someplace regardless. It doesn't matter. I do a lot of bonuses for people because it's really something that, it's like the American way when you think about it.
It's such a clown show. Guys, I know it's not funny, but you got to laugh when you can. Here's the thing about this stuff. So first, he's saying, okay, where's the money going to come from? I don't know. I'll figure it out. And now they're telling you to go to the White House and get it. I feel like at this point, if you go to the White House to get the money, it's like you're essentially an actor on Trump's TV show, and that's your payment for being an actor. And what's the acting job? To tell everyone that Trump is the greatest president of all time and that everything is going spectacularly. On top of that, it's like always a court fight with this dude. He's always suing everyone, and now we're going to the Supreme Court. Here's another one. Supreme Court showdown. President Trump is warning that a pending Supreme Court decision on his tariff powers could have massive economic fallout and pose an insurmountable national security risk, okay? And then the numbers, they always change every day, right? So today, Trump is saying, warned Supreme Court tariff ruling could trigger $3 trillion unwind. And I wonder, because the numbers change all the time, but I wonder if, like, is this the amount of money that, is missing? You never know. Honestly, you never know. We're stuck in this bizarro, South Park timeline. When you want to get official numbers from them, I told you about this yesterday, but they're reiterating it now. This is Karen Levitt, right? The press secretary. She says, prices are steadying and wages are climbing, right? So they're saying everything's cheap. You're so great. And you're making more money according to them. And that's from a new DoorDash report. So when you don't have government data, when in doubt, go with the food delivery company to supply your economic data, DoorDash. That is our strategy in the White House right now. Rely on DoorDash. Listen to Duffy Moore talk about the air traffic controller pay thing. It's really bizarre, is everything he says.
I mentioned I wanted air traffic controllers to come back to work. So to be clear, anywhere from 24 to 48 hours after the government opens, they're going to get a photo ID and 70% of their pay. So 70% of their pay comes within 24 to 48 hours. So I encourage all of them to come to work, to be patriots, and help navigate the airspace effectively for the American people.
So what it sounds like to me is they're having a trouble getting people to come to work because people aren't getting paid. And then they're like, you're going to come get paid and get 70% of your money. I really don't know. I really don't know. I don't know how people are going to respond to this because he's stressing out. You can see it. So he must be hearing stuff that people maybe aren't willing to come. And so that's why they have to keep talking about the money situation.
Even if we see the government reopen this week, could we see delays for Thanksgiving travel?
So it depends on, are we going to have air traffic controllers come into work? And if we have the controllers showing up, I think we're going to be back to, regular flight schedules. Again, I can't control the weather, that. I can't control if there's issues on aircraft that's mechanical, but with regard to controlling the airspace, we'll be up and running. I will say, I believe that in this package to reopen the government, our controllers could be paid within 48 hours of the government opening. So they could, not all of it, I think it's a 70% payment, but they'll get a big lump sum of what they're due, which is helpful. They don't have to wait another 2 weeks to be paid.
I don't know. Something's going on here. The way he's talking, he doesn't sound confident in the money situation. You guys can see it for yourself.
The president's also talked about penalizing some of these air traffic controllers who took sick time. So can you talk about what that plan would look like there?
Well, my concern is for those air traffic controllers who, before they missed a paycheck, and we were in the shutdown, they decided on a continual basis not to show up for work. They don't know how long the shutdown was going to be. They hadn't missed a pay period, and they didn't come to work. I'm concerned about those controllers. I'm concerned about their dedication. I'm concerned about their patriotism. And so we haven't made a decision, but we are going to look at those controllers who continually made the decision not to show up for work.
It sounds like they're threatening people here. And then the weird thing about the patriotism thing is really bothersome. So there's a lot of bothersome stuff here. But I just want to show you what's going on with that. This was an interesting one. Politico. White House officials are furious with FHFA Director Bill Pulte, who convinced Trump to float a 50-year mortgage plan. Okay. On Saturday, Pulte brought a poster to Trump's Palm Beach club with a 30-year mortgage above FDR's photo and a 50-year mortgage above Trump's under the headline Great American Presidents. 10 minutes later, Trump posted it on Truth Social. Okay, so the Political report came out. I actually read it. And basically what it sounds like is Trump is just basically a puppet. I think we already know this, but essentially his advisors come in and they all try to get him to post stuff on Truth Social or try to get him to say stuff publicly. And the Pulte guy, and if you don't know, he's the head of the housing and he was part of the Pulte Homes. That's his family thing. and essentially got Trump to post this like right away. And people in the White House are like really pissed off by this because it wasn't really vetted by anyone. And now it's all over the press. And we've been talking about on this channel because the whole 50-year thing is like lunacy. And it hasn't been going well with MAGA either. So this shows you how it's basically how the thing functions in the White House. It's a bunch of worm tongues. If you guys are familiar with, Lord of the Rings, right? So you got like a dying king, essentially what it ends up being, and a bunch of advisors trying to manipulate him to get the money, and he's easily manipulated. And it's sad because when I bring this kind of stuff up, sometimes you'll hear, MAGA, Trump people say, oh, Chris, you're just so dumb. Trump's a genius, blah, blah. And it's just like, guys, I mean, you can see it with your own eyes. Just open your eyes. It's kind of like, for those of you who ever dealt with this kind of situation, imagine in your family you have a dying, parent or relative, something like that. And you'll have people in the family that are trying to cover up certain kinds of things. And you always wonder, like, are you lying on purpose, or do you really not know what's going on? Do you not really want to help? And it could not just dying relative, just any number of things. It could be a relative with addiction or something like that. Like you're dealing with like this weird family type infighting culture. And for those of you who've ever had these kind of situations, you'll kind of know what I'm talking about here. That's what it feels like to me. Pete Hegseth then, trust me, there's more. I got to go through all the news today. He's saying this. On Friday, we announced the most ambitious, is the Department of War, most ambitious, comprehensive, and overdue transformation of how the Department of War buys weapons, platforms, and capabilities. So let me explain this. And I always say the same thing. Where's the money? Follow the money, right? This is big money here, like huge money. We're talking about weapons and stuff like that. And so essentially what they were always going to say is that if we have regulations, if we have accountants, if we have, oversight, that just slows things down, right? We don't want a slow system. We want a fast system. So what we got to do is we got to fire all the people that we can, replace them with AI, or just forget about regulations and oversight, whatever. And how about this? I got a friend who makes these fantastic drones, and he promised me that these drones are the best in the world. And I'm just like, hey, I work at the Department of War, and my friend, he's like, gave me a big promise. And how about we buy all that stuff from my friend? And I think you guys get what I'm getting at. Is essentially we're talking about big government contracts here. And if you remove oversight, it has all sorts of corruption implications. And I don't trust Hegseth. I'm just showing you what they say. If you want to read through the whole document, but that's essentially what it all boils down to. They want to remove regulations, make it easier to cheat the taxpayer, right? And this is also happening today. Like every day it is, how can we destroy the government? And it's hard to go through everything because there's so much. Both these things are big. The scandal over changing how we acquire weapons at the Department of War, or Department of Defense, I should say. They call it the war, but it's Department of Defense. Then you got this. Trump administration declares CFPB funding illegal. So we're talking about the Consumer Finance Protection Board. So they don't want you to be, they don't want consumers to be protected. Right? And I always bring this stuff up. It's really important to talk about these things, guys. And just most basic terms, for example, do you want banks to charge you, $100 for overdrawing your ATM? Just for example, like, do you want like outrageous fees at the ATM, or do you want, to be able to, like, banks can lie on their advertising, or it's not just banks, it can be crypto, any number of things. Like, do you want consumer protections? It's a basic question. And as a regular person, the answer should be yes. I want to be protected as a consumer. It's not anything outrageous. But what's sad though is that the MAGA and the Trump people, they don't understand any of this stuff. And it's deeply frustrating. Because to me, this is something like 99% of us should want, is consumer protections. It's not anything crazy. This is Elizabeth Warren. She's big on consumer protection. She says, this is absurd and plainly illegal. The court should reject this fringe theory. But the real news here is Trump will do anything to try and kill an agency that has returned more than $21 billion to scammed Americans, but he'll do nothing to lower costs for American families. It is a really big deal when they're looking at destroying the consumer financial protections, right? This is nothing new in the sense that we didn't know they were going for this stuff, but just when you actually see it play out. And they do this at a time when we're all talking about, certain issues, and it's just like, hey, you're all talking about whatever. We can like sneak this like really important stuff that people won't understand, the same way, like, say, the 50-year mortgage thing, right? So someone actually in the comments had a really interesting point of like, maybe they'll float 50 And then, now it's 30s, kind of on normal's right word. We'll just say many people take 30-year mortgages and then they'll end up going in the middle at 40. But the point in this stuff though is like these things have major impacts on your life that add up over time that make your life worse, to be perfectly frank. So that's what's going on. I appreciate your time. Please be careful out there, and I'll catch you all in the next video.